This is, at first glance, a daunting prelude. I mean that literally. I mean, you look at the page and just visually, it's so busy. There are so many things going on. There's three voices that are in constant motion. They never drop out. They never cease. You've got this prelude theme, which freely moves between all three voices. You've got a pretty interesting harmony. There's some weird stuff that goes on here, and we're already in G sharp minor, so we've got double sharps and all sorts of wild stuff. The fingering is pretty difficult. The piece is unrelenting. It's daunting. It really is daunting. But if you haven't been yet convinced that in Bach, and I really think in all music, all other worries kind of just, I don't know, wash away if you focus on the pulse, let this prelude be, I think, proof of that. It's not that if you focus on the pulse and really feel it and make it heard to the listener that all these other problems go away, but at the very least, they're less daunting. It feels much more manageable. So let's walk through it. I should point out at the beginning that it's not even an easy pulse. It's funky. It's what I call a polypulse, where we have two different. It's not a polyrhythm. It's not like we have different rhythms going at the same time, but different pulses that happen at the same time. I'm sure there's an actual name for it, and I don't know it, so I'm just going to call it a polypulse. But let's build up to it. The first pulse to really cue in on is dirt simple. It's just a basic dividing a beat into 1 and 2 and. It's over here where we start in C sharp minor. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Again, very, very simple. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. Seems pretty clear to me that this is the way, this is the way that I really feel it. You can even see it on the page, or if you look at the notes that are played here, we're going up, this is one motion, and then again. So we go up, and then go up. So we have this motion, this pattern of pop pop bum pop pop bum pop pop bum pop pop bum pop 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 pop. 1 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. But this is where things start getting interesting, because right in the next section, this pattern remains the same. This going up in 2, 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. So you'd think, just looking at it, that we feel it in the same pulse, this 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. However, when you look at the harmony, you notice that things get a little more interesting. It's kind of hard to explain this. It's a little easier if you look at the sheet music and you parse it out, although I constantly say I don't like looking at the sheet music. So let me just try to explain it without the sheet music as well. Notice how, okay, in this pattern, right? We're going up with 3 notes and then again going up with 3 notes. However, harmonically, think about what's happening. At the beginning, this is very clearly a G sharp minor chord. Okay? We have this A sharp passing note, but the rest of the notes are clearly a G sharp minor. And then in the last 2 notes, these last 2 16th notes, if we're looking at the sheet music, this is where we're sketching out a C sharp minor chord. So we have a G sharp minor that goes to a C sharp minor. But that switch from that G sharp minor to the C sharp minor does not happen on this rhythmic boundary, this 1 and 1 and. It happens right after that and. It happens here, 1 and here when we get to this E. Again, visually, looking at the sheet music, it's a little bit clearer. So you can see here when I'm putting up on the screen, we have this pattern of going up in 3s, 1 and. But the first chord, this G sharp, covers the first 4 notes, and the C sharp is just in the last 2 notes. This is where the polypulse starts becoming more visible. And let's actually cue in on another section where it's even clearer. So here, back on the first page in my edition, once we go here to again, the rhythmic pattern, this shape, makes us feel like we're doing 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. But the harmony is what I just said with this polypulse. The harmony changes not on the and, but right after the and. And if you add in the right hand, you can see exactly how that happens. Basically what's happening, let's jump the gun a little bit. Basically what's happening here is one of the pulses that we're feeling is the one that I've been describing, this 1 and 2 and, where we're cutting up our beat in 2, 1 and 2 and. However, these harmony changes, or here the right hand, this voice, that splits up the pulse not in 2, but in 3. 1 and, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. This is really the trick in what I've been calling the polypulse, although again, I'm pretty sure there's an actual name for this that I'm not aware of. This entire piece makes us it really just drives home this idea of having two different pulses at the same time. Our beat is always going to be 1, 2, 1, 2, but we're dividing that beat sometimes in 2, sometimes in 3. So sometimes we're doing 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and other times we're doing 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet. This is nowhere more clear than right in the theme. So the right hand, the main voice, right at the beginning, starts by breaking up the pulse in 2 and ends by breaking it up in 3. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 triplet. 1 and 2 triplet. 1 and 2 triplet. It's not a polyrhythm because if you break down this pulse at the 16th note, everything lines up perfectly fine. So we don't have anything like a 5 against 4, 3 against 2, anything polyrhythmic. The polypulse happens because we feel this beat, sometimes broken down in 2 and sometimes broken down in 3. It sounds very cool. I even like the feel of this theme, this boom 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 1 and 2 triplet, 1 and 2 triplet, 1 and 2 triplet, 1. But like any polyrhythm, it's very difficult to feel both of the pulses at the same time. So right at the beginning, when we're doing this bop 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 bop, this 1 and, our accompaniment, the two voices in the left hand, break down the beat in 3. 1, 1 and 2. 1 triplet 2. It's very, very easy for this half pulse, this pulse where we're breaking down in 2, 1 and, to no longer feel like we're breaking it in 2 because we have this accompaniment which breaks it down in 3. So it's very easy for this pattern of pop 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 1 and to start feeling like 1 triplet, 1 triplet, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. But I think that's not the right way to feel this. I think, at the very least, is the way that I view the piece. I think it's really important to feel this theme as 1 and, while the accompaniment is 1 2 3, 1 triplet, 1 2 3, 1 triplet. How do we actually start feeling these two separate pulses? well, as usual with difficulty, I think you really want to practice. You really want to practice very consciously and conscientiously to be aware of when you're breaking up the pulse in 2 and when you're breaking it up in 3. So, for example, here in this section when we're doing it's very clear that rhythmically our pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and. So first of all, really ingrain that in your bones, in your fingers. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. However, start feeling the harmony in 3. Start playing, forget about the right hand, the way it's written, and just play the harmony. I'm kind of forgetting the notes here. Let's just focus on the beginning. It's G sharp to C sharp. As you're doing this, and then it's F sharp to B, really try to feel not this 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Feel the 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. It might help because we're on a modern piano to emphasize the 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. I think this helps a lot in these sections where we've got this polypulse. And at the beginning as well, practice going from breaking down the pulse in 2 to breaking it in 3, just like the way the theme is written. Put doon 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 1 and 2 triplet 1 and 2 triplet. If you can really ingrain that into your body, 1 2 triplet, 1 and 2 triplet 1 and 2 triplet 1 and 2 triplet 1. The theme becomes much more alive, and you start really ingraining into yourself the difference between breaking down the pulse in 2 and in 3. So, still very difficult because we're feeling 2 different pulses at the same time, but let me try to explain how, at least for me, everything becomes less daunting in this piece once I started feeling this boom, 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 1 and 2 triplet, and once I started playing these polypulses at the same time, like I did over here, this put. First of all, the 3 voices, it's not that, wow, I don't know how to explain this. It doesn't really feel like I'm playing in 3 voices that much anymore because I'm constantly aware of this pulse. It's what I really get to focus on, and then the other 2 voices generally are in sync. So for example, right. Let me give you a good example. Right. Do 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 do. See, we've got 2 voices doing that same pulse. It's 1 and 2 triplet 1, 1 and 2 triplet. In fact, in a lot of places, when you have one voice doing one of the pulses, so for example over here, this voice is doing the pulse in 2, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. The other 2 voices, however, you can kind of think of them as one single voice because both of them break down the pulse into 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, triplet 2, triplet 1. So even though there's 3 voices, you'll notice that oftentimes one voice is in one pulse and the other 2 voices are in the different pulse. So instead of being 3 voices, it's almost like they're really just 2. The harmony, as funky as it is, here I really don't know why, but I don't know, try it for yourself. Stop thinking of wow, there's so many notes and double sharps and weird harmonies. And focus on the pulse. Always find this boom, 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 boom. Focus just on that, and I think you'll find that the worries of the harmony kind of washes away. Not just that, I think it's also because, with a few exceptions, it's not too that strange of a harmony. Again, with a few exceptions. So, for example, in this section that I keep going back to, this is a very clear Baroque, kind of a circle of fifths sort of thing, where we have C sharp minor, F sharp, B, E. This is the A sharp diminished 7, which acts as the dominant, this D sharp dominant that resolves to G sharp. This is pretty standard stuff. Bum, 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 bum. You'll see this all throughout the piece. The kind of weirder stuff, for example, over here we have, we're going from a D sharp minor, which is our natural 6, to a D sharp major 7, so we can resolve to G sharp. So there are a couple of funky things like that, but again, just try it out. I really feel like if you focus on the pulse, those issues kind of go away. Fingering as well. The fingering is the first thing that kind of disappeared for me. As long as I was focusing on realizing boom, 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 1 and 2 triplet, the fingers that I was using kind of almost chose themselves. So that's it for this piece. Very, very interesting, very, very cool. It's got a very interesting rhythm. It works playing fast, also playing slow. Just gorgeous. I love it. Let's play it.